The door slammed shut behind Torrin with a finality that echoed through the quiet suburban street in small-town Ohio. At 17, he stood there in the pouring rain, his backpack slung over one shoulder, clutching a crumpled note from his father that read, "You're no son of mine if this is who you are." Just hours earlier, his dad had walked in on him kissing Jake, his best friend turned secret boyfriend, and the world Torrin knew shattered like glass under a hammer. Torrin's heart pounded as he trudged down the block, the rain mixing with tears on his face. He had always known his family was conservative, church every Sunday, Bible study on Wednesdays, and a father who preached about traditional values like they were the only path to salvation. But loving Jake felt as natural as breathing. It wasn't a choice, it was just him. Jake, with his easy smile and shared dreams of escaping to the city, had been his anchor in a sea of expectations. Now, with nowhere to go, Torrin pulled out his phone and dialed Jake's number, his voice breaking as he whispered, "They found out. I need you." The next few days blurred into a haze of survival. Jake's parents, more open-minded than Torrin's, let him crash on their couch, but the whispers at school turned into outright stares. "Faggot," someone muttered in the hallway, and Torrin felt the sting of societal judgment like a fresh wound. He graduated high school by the skin of his teeth, working part-time at a diner to save for college. Jake stood by him, their relationship deepening amid the chaos. They talked late into the night about futures unbound by small-town prejudices. But Torrin couldn't shake the ache of his father's rejection. "How do you erase your own kid?" he asked Jake one evening, staring at the ceiling. Jake squeezed his hand. "You don't. But we build something better." College in Chicago offered a fresh start. Torrin majored in social work, driven by a fire to help kids like him, those tossed aside for being different. Jake pursued graphic design, and together they navigated the vibrant LGBTQ+ scene in the city, attending pride events that felt like a rebellion against the world that had hurt them. But conflicts arose. Torrin's unresolved anger bubbled up in arguments. "I hate him," he'd say about his father, and Jake would counter, "Hate keeps you chained." Their love was tested by external pressures too, job rejections where Torrin suspected his orientation played a role, and family gatherings where Jake's relatives welcomed him while his own blood remained silent. Years passed, and Torrin landed a job at a nonprofit advocating for queer youth. He channeled his pain into purpose, counseling teens facing homelessness due to family rejection. One case hit close. A boy named Tyler, thrown out at 15 for coming out. Torrin saw his younger self in Tyler's eyes and fought tooth and nail to get him into a shelter. "You're not alone," he told him, words he wished someone had said to him. Meanwhile, his relationship with Jake evolved into something solid, a partnership built on shared scars. They moved in together, adopted a rescue dog named Max, and started talking about marriage when it became legal in 2015. But beneath the surface, Torrin wrestled with the void left by his family. Holidays were the worst. Thanksgiving dinners with Jake's folks highlighted what he'd lost. One evening, after a particularly grueling day at work, Torrin broke down. "What if I'm just like him? What if I can't be a good dad because I never had one?" Jake held him, whispering assurances. Their decision to start a family came gradually, through surrogacy. The process was arduous. Financial strains, legal hurdles, and societal side-eyes from strangers who questioned two men raising a child. But when their son, Ethan, arrived in 2018, tiny and perfect, Torrin felt a love so fierce it mended cracks he didn't know existed. "He's ours," he said to Jake, tears streaming as they held their baby. Fatherhood brought joy but also new fears. Torrin vowed never to let Ethan feel unwanted. As Ethan grew, so did Torrin's reflections on his past. He heard through the grapevine that his father, Robert, had retired from his factory job and was living alone after Torrin's mother passed from cancer. Part of Torrin wanted to reach out, to show Robert what he'd built despite the banishment. But pride and pain held him back. "He doesn't deserve to know Ethan," he'd tell Jake during heated discussions. Jake, ever the optimist, suggested forgiveness as a gift to themselves. "Holding on to this is poisoning you." Their debates mirrored broader societal divides. the push for reconciliation versus the right to cut toxic ties. Ethan, at 5, was a bundle of curiosity. "Why don't I have a grandpa like my friends?" he asked one day, drawing a family tree for school. Torin's heart twisted. He explained gently, "Sometimes families disagree, and it makes them apart." But Ethan pressed, his innocent questions forcing Torin to confront his choices. Was shielding his son from Robert protecting him, or repeating a cycle of erasure? The internal conflict gnawed at Torin, especially as he saw queer rights advance yet backlash persist. Politicians railing against family values that excluded families like his. A turning point came when Torin's sister, Sarah, whom he'd lost contact with, reached out via social media. "Dad's not well," she wrote. "Heart issues. He asks about you sometimes." The message stirred a storm of emotions. Anger, curiosity, pity. Torin debated ignoring it, but Jake encouraged a visit. For closure, if nothing else. They drove back to Ohio, Ethan in the back seat singing nursery rhymes, oblivious to the tension. As they pulled up to the old house, memories flooded Torin. The slammed door, the rain, the note. Robert opened the door, friendlier than Torin remembered, eyes widening at the sight of his son. "Torin?" he rasped, voice thick with surprise. They sat in the living room, awkward silence broken by Ethan's chatter. "Are you my grandpa?" the boy asked innocently. Robert nodded, tears welling. Torin watched, torn between resentment and a flicker of compassion. "Why did you do it?" he finally asked. Robert sighed. "I was scared. The church, the town, they said it was wrong. I thought I was saving you." The conversation unfolded like peeling layers of an onion, each revelation stinging. Robert admitted regrets, how he'd followed blind doctrine over his child's happiness. "I lost you and it broke me," he said. But Torin pushed back. "You didn't lose me. You threw me away." The exchange highlighted societal pressures, the role of religion in fostering division, the evolution of acceptance. Ethan, sensing the heaviness, toddled over and hugged Robert's leg. "Don't be sad, Grandpa." In that moment, something shifted. Torin saw not the monster of his youth, but a flawed man shaped by his era. Back in Chicago, Torin grappled with the visit's aftermath. Ethan's hug had been spontaneous, a child's pure affection bridging a chasm Torin had deemed uncrossable. But was it enough? Robert's apologies felt genuine, laced with stories of his own upbringing under a strict father who valued conformity above all. "I repeated what I knew," Robert confessed in a follow-up call. Torin listened, his anger softening but not dissolving. Jake noticed the change. "You're thinking about letting him in, aren't you?" Torin nodded, conflicted. For Ethan's sake, maybe. Society's evolving views played into Torin's dilemma. In the 2020s, with more visibility for queer families, Torin's work at the nonprofit thrived. He organized workshops on allyship, challenging parents to choose love over dogma. Yet, backlash persisted, bills targeting trans youth, book bans on LGBTQ+ topics. Torin testified at a state hearing, his voice steady. "Rejecting your child doesn't fix them. It breaks families." The experience mirrored his personal struggle. Could he advocate forgiveness publicly while withholding it privately? As Ethan turned 7, questions about his origins intensified. "Why did Grandpa throw you out?" he asked after overhearing a conversation. Torin sat him down, explaining age appropriately. "Grandpa didn't understand that loving someone like Daddy loves Papa is okay, but people can learn." Ethan frowned. "That's mean. But I hugged him, so now it's better." The simplicity of his logic pierced Torin. He realized his choices affected not just him but generations. Jake weighed in during quiet evenings. "Forgiveness isn't forgetting. It's freeing yourself." Tensions escalated when Robert visited Chicago for the first time. He arrived bearing gifts, a toy truck for Ethan, a photo album for Torin filled with childhood pictures. "I kept these," Robert said softly. Dinner was strained at first, small talk about whether giving way to deeper waters. Robert shared how he'd left the church after Torin's mother's death, questioning beliefs that cost him his son. I volunteer at a senior center now, talking to folks about acceptance. Torrin probed. Is that redemption, or just guilt? The question hung, sparking a debate that revealed layers of societal conditioning. Ethan bonded quickly with Robert, dragging him to the park for swings and stories. Watching them, Torrin felt a mix of jealousy and relief. He's good with him, Jake observed. But old wounds resurfaced when Robert slipped into outdated language, calling Torrin's lifestyle a choice. It's not a choice, Dad, Torrin snapped. It's who I am. The argument escalated, voices rising until Ethan peeked in, eyes wide. Stop fighting. The incident forced reflection. Was reintroducing Robert worth the risk of exposing Ethan to lingering prejudices? Torrin sought counsel from his therapist, a queer woman specializing in family dynamics. Reconciliation is messy, she said. It's about boundaries, not blanket forgiveness. Inspired, Torrin set ground rules for Robert. No judgmental comments. Active learning about LGBTQ+ issues. Robert agreed, enrolling in an online course on allyship. The effort surprised Torrin, chipping away at his defenses. Meanwhile, Jake's support remained steadfast, their relationship a testament to resilience. We've built this life together, Jake reminded him during a date night. Don't let the past steal our present. Community played a role too. At a pride parade, Torrin marched with Ethan on his shoulders, Robert trailing awkwardly behind with a rainbow flag. Strangers cheered, but Torrin noticed Robert's discomfort amid the flamboyance. Later, over ice cream, Robert admitted, "It's a lot to take in, but I'm trying." The moment humanized him, a man unlearning decades of indoctrination. Yet, Torrin wondered if true change was possible, or if it was performative. As months turned to years, the relationship thawed gradually. Robert attended Ethan's school plays, cheering loudly. He even joined a support group for parents of queer kids, sharing his story as a cautionary tale. "I almost lost everything," he'd say. Torrin overheard one session via Zoom, moved by his father's vulnerability. But doubts lingered. A family gathering turned tense when an uncle made a homophobic joke, and Robert laughed before catching himself. "Old habits," he apologized. Torrin forgave, but it reignited debates with Jake. How many chances does he get? Ethan's perspective evolved as he grew. At 10, he wrote a school essay titled My Two Families, describing the blend of love and history. "Grandpa made a mistake, but hugs fix things," he concluded naively. Reading it, Torrin teared up, seeing the innocence he once had. It prompted a family meeting where they discussed openness. "We're all learning," Torrin said, including himself. The process highlighted broader themes: generational trauma, the cost of conformity, and the power of chosen family. Highs and lows marked the journey. A health scare for Robert, another heart episode, brought them rushing to Ohio. In the hospital, Robert gripped Torrin's hand. "I'm proud of you, son. The man you've become." The words, long awaited, cracked Torrin's armor. But recovery brought reality. Roberts will name Torrin as beneficiary, a gesture of amends. "It's not about money," Torrin told Jake. "It's acknowledgement." With Ethan entering his teens, the dynamics shifted further. At 13, he navigated his own identity questions, confiding in Torrin about a crush on a boy at school. "Is that okay?" Ethan asked hesitantly. Torrin hugged him fiercely. "More than okay. It's you." The moment echoed Torrin's youth, but with acceptance instead of rejection. Robert, now a regular visitor, reacted supportively when told. "Love is love," he said, quoting a phrase from his allyship classes. Torrin raised an eyebrow. Progress, but was it deep-rooted? Societal conflicts amplified personal ones. In 2024, amid heated elections, anti-LGBTQ+ rhetoric surged. Torrin's nonprofit faced funding cuts, forcing tough choices. "We're fighting the same battles," he vented to Jake. Robert, watching the news, expressed dismay. "I voted differently this time," he admitted, supporting progressive candidates. The revelation stunned Torrin. His father, once a staunch conservative, evolving. But skepticism remained. Actions over words, Dad. Family vacations tested bonds. A trip to California included beach days and Disneyland, where Ethan thrived. Robert shared stories of Torrin's childhood, painting a picture of a happy kid before the rift. You were always sensitive, creative, he said. Torrin listened, piecing together fragmented memories. Yet, a dinner conversation turned controversial when Robert questioned gender-neutral bathrooms. It's confusing for folks my age. Jake intervened calmly, educating without confrontation. Later, Torrin confronted him. You can't say that around Ethan. Robert nodded, apologetic, highlighting the ongoing work of unlearning. Ethan's school project on family history unearthed old letters, including the note from Robert. What does erased mean? Ethan asked, holding the paper. Torrin explained honestly. It means Grandpa tried to forget me because he didn't understand. Ethan's response was thoughtful. But he remembers now. Does that count? The question mirrored Torrin's internal debate, fueling nights of reflection. Jake suggested therapy for all 3 generations, an idea Robert embraced surprisingly. The therapy sessions were raw. Facilitated by a neutral counselor, they unpacked decades of hurt. Robert admitted fear drove his actions. I thought you'd go to hell. Torrin shared the loneliness of homelessness, the struggle to trust. Ethan listened, wide-eyed, gaining empathy. I don't want to lose anyone, he said. Breakthroughs came slowly, Robert volunteering at Torrin's nonprofit, interacting with queer youth. One teen remarked, Your dad's cool for an old guy. Torrin smiled, seeing change in action. But setbacks occurred. A family reunion with extended relatives brought judgment. An aunt whispered, It's unnatural. 2 dads. Robert defended. My grandson has more love than most. The stand marked a turning point, earning Torrin's respect. Still, he questioned motives. Was it love or legacy preservation? Jake's optimism balanced Torrin's caution. People change when motivated by loss. As Ethan turned 15, he organized a surprise birthday for Robert, inviting queer friends. The party was a mix of awkwardness and warmth. Rainbow cake alongside traditional barbecue. Robert mingled, asking genuine questions. Tell me about your journeys, he said to a trans guest. Torrin watched, pride swelling. Later, Ethan confided. I hugged him first because he looked lonely, like you did when I was little. The parallel hit Torrin hard, revealing cycles of compassion. Broader impacts emerged. Torrin wrote an op-ed on reconciliation, sparking online debates. Some praised second chances. Others decried forgiving abusers. Toxicity doesn't deserve redemption, one comment read. Torrin pondered. Where did his story fit? Jake read the piece aloud. You've turned pain into purpose. Their love, tested by time, remained the constant. Robert's health declined again, prompting more visits. In quiet moments, he shared regrets. I missed your wedding, Ethan's birth. Torrin forgave piecemeal. You're here now, but full absolution eluded him, tangled in memories. Ethan, maturing, advocated, family's what we make it. His words echoed societal shifts toward inclusive definitions. A pivotal conflict arose when Robert's church friends visited, spouting outdated views. Torrin overheard, intervening. Not in my home. Robert backed him, asking them to leave. My son's right. The act solidified trust, but Torrin wondered if it was too late for complete healing. Entering his late 50s, Torrin reflected on life's twists. His career peaked with a book deal, erased but enduring, chronicling his journey. Writing unearthed buried emotions, shared with Jake in tearful sessions. You've carried this so long, Jake said. Robert contributed a foreword, admitting faults. I was wrong. The vulnerability moved Torrin, but promotion tours brought controversy. Interviews questioning if forgiveness glorified homophobia. Ethan, now 17, the age Torrin was banished, faced his own challenges. Bullied for having gay dads, he stood firm. My family's awesome. Robert, hearing this, called the school, advocating. No one messes with my grandson. The protectiveness surprised Torrin, evoking what he'd craved. But tensions flared when Ethan came out officially. I'm bi, he announced. Torrin celebrated. Robert hesitated briefly before hugging him. I'm learning every day. Family therapy continued, addressing intergenerational patterns. The counselor noted, change requires consistency. Robert committed, attending Pride events annually. One year, he carried a sign, proud grandpa of a queer kid. Photos went viral, drawing mixed reactions, praise for growth, criticism for past sins. Torrin defended online, redemption's possible with effort. Personal losses compounded drama. Jake's health scare, a minor stroke, rattled them. In the hospital, Robert stayed overnight, supporting. Your family too, he told Jake. The gesture deepened bonds, but Torrin confronted lingering resentment. Why now? Robert replied, losing your mom showed me life's short. Honesty fostered understanding, highlighting themes of mortality and regret. Ethan's college applications brought decisions. He chose a school near Ohio, wanting proximity to Robert. He's old. I want time with him. Torrin felt conflicted, proud of Ethan's compassion, wary of influence. Jake mediated, trust the kid we raised. The choice sparked family discussions on legacy. What values endure? A major clash occurred at Thanksgiving. Political talk turned heated. A relative supported anti-gay policies. Robert shut it down. Not anymore. I've seen the harm. Torrin watched, amazed. Later, alone, Robert confessed, I was that relative once. Forgive me? Torrin paused, then nodded. Working on it. The exchange marked progress, but scars remained. As Robert's 80s approached, frailty increased. Torrin arranged home care, visiting often. Stories flowed, Robert's youth, pressures to conform. I wanted to protect you, but I hurt you. Torrin shared his triumphs. I built a life despite it. Ethan facilitated, recording oral histories. This is our story, he said. Community recognition came when Torrin's book won an award. At the ceremony, Robert presented, My son taught me love. Tears flowed. Ethan hugged both. The moment symbolized reconciliation, but Torrin pondered its authenticity amid ongoing societal debates. High drama peaked with Robert's final hospitalization. Doctors gave weeks. Bedside, confessions poured. I love you, Torrin. Always did. Torrin held his hand. I know, Dad. Ethan, emotional, hugged Robert tightly. Thanks for coming back, Grandpa. In the quiet, Torrin reflected on choices. His father's banishment, his own guarded heart, Ethan's open arms. Society's evolution paralleled. From rejection to tentative acceptance, yet battles raged. After Robert's passing, the funeral blended traditions, queer allies alongside old church friends. Torrin eulogized. He stumbled, but stood up. Ethan added, his hugs meant everything. Grief mixed with relief. Torrin felt unburdened, yet questions lingered. Had forgiveness healed or merely bandaged? Life moved forward. Torrin and Jake, in their 60s, mentored young couples. Ethan, in college, advocated for LGBTQ+ rights, inspired by family history. We broke the cycle, he told Torrin, but echoes remained, debates on whether parents like Robert deserved second chances. Torrin's books sparked forums. Can homophobes redeem? Opinions divided, some said yes with accountability. Others, no, harm's irreversible. Torrin engaged, sharing, it's personal, not prescriptive. Years later, at Ethan's wedding to his partner, a man, Torrin felt full circle. Toasts honored Robert. He'd be proud. Ethan hugged Torrin. Thanks for showing me forgiveness. The journey underscored societal tensions. Religion versus identity, tradition versus progress. Torrin wondered if his choices were right, fueling ongoing reflection. In the end, was Robert's redemption truly earned? Or was it too little, too late?